Founded in the 7th century, the city of Basra is located some 50 kilometers northwest from the coast of the Persian Gulf. The hinterland of the city is laced with an ancient network of agricultural canals, once upon a time used also for navigational purposes. The city enjoyed great economic prosperity as a port base for Arab, Portuguese, Dutch, Ottoman, English, as well as for Indian merchants, all of whom influenced the rich architectural style for which the city became renowned. If in its heyday the city was known as the Venice of the East, this feature is less evident today, not only because of the drastic urbanization of the city itself, but also because of the poor conditions of the canal. Countless Shanashil homes and traditional shops dating back from the Ottoman times have been lost in the 1960s to make way for the new wide roads and commercial buildings. One of the few remaining pockets of the historical quarters can be found in an area known as Basra Kadim, or Old Basra, a residential neighborhood lining the quiet Al-Ashar Creek northwest of the souk. Here, the narrow streets stemming off the creek are often pedestrian and offer a welcome respite from the fierce summer heat, and semi-private spaces distinctive of Arab traditional quarters. Buildings are typically between 2 to 3 story high, with flat terraces enclosed by brick or timber parapets. Upper floors are often enriched by bay windows oriented to capture the light and the breeze, offering also a sweeping view of the street below. The old houses with their elegant timber lodges, latticed shanashil and decorated doorways bear witness to the earlier grace of this ancient city. Once inhabited by notable families and wealthy merchants, many of whom part of the Jewish community, most of the houses in Basra Kadim display today clear signs of abandon, with their broken cornices, hanging lattice screens, splintered glass panes, and bricked-up windows. Only a handful of British colonial-style mansions from the 1920s and 30s survive. As in other parts of the world, relentless real estate pressure is taking advantage of the vacuum of protective measures and building control. The ancient creeks suffer from environmental neglect, low water levels, and accumulated solid waste. It is in this neighborhood that in the 1990s, the government invested in the pilot rehabilitation of a handful of Shanashil houses, reused as cultural spaces open to the public. Yet, due to lack of maintenance, these buildings already show clear signs of neglect. If not regularly and professionally maintained, mud roofs and exposed timber suffer the impact of humidity in summer, rainfall in winter, and wind erosion typical of this region. Traditional building materials such as Farsi bricks and Saj timber are being substituted with cheaper and readily available alternatives. The last decade has seen the construction of several buildings unsympathetic to their historical context and the value of surrounding vernacular urban fabric. Often clad in alubond or marble, these buildings are changing the identity of the historical quarters. Urgent upgrading needs include water, sewage, and electricity networks, solid waste collection, and road maintenance, whose failings are by no means unique to this area, but derive from decades of underinvestments in the basic infrastructure networks that serve the city of Basra and the poor management of resources. Solid waste accumulated in the streets and the canal are contributing to the poor reputation and the degradation of the historical quarters, holding back visitors and limiting activities on the street and canal frontage. Without solid financial assistance and a management plan in place, there is little chance that homeowners will be able to restore their houses in accordance to international standards. Yet, because of the sheer complexity of dealing with a multitude of property owners and tenants with different aspirations, the authorities have often resorted to large-scale property expropriations and the eviction of its residents. International experience shows that such operations have seldom had the outcome desired. Funds have been difficult to find and manage. Most government-owned Shanashil houses have been assigned to poor tenants unable to afford expensive maintenance work. On the other hand, if the inhabitants were vacated, Basra Kadim risked becoming an open-air museum, sterile, lifeless, and unsustainable. The team selected Basra Kadim as the focus of its analytical work and planning efforts. In line with the learning by doing approach that UN Habitat has adopted since the inception of this initiative, the team has delivered a series of consultation workshops and hands-on diagnostic work on what it perceives as the root causes of its current dereliction and marginalization. The planning process purposely addresses not only infrastructure, environmental, social, and physical rehabilitation needs, but also, and most crucially, the legal, institutional, and financial framework required to ensure that any future intervention is not only viable, but realistic and sustainable. Since the inception of the project in late 2015, UN Habitat's team has involved in the process local governmental representatives from the Governorate, Basra Provincial Council, the Municipality Planning Directorate, the State Board of Antiquities and Heritage, the College of Arts and College of Fine Arts in Basra University, and UNESCO.
ما ندورها يعني بس
بالصفة الآثارية.
Unfortunately, this is the situation. So this was fixed in the same place. The canals are not navigable. The colonial buildings are destroyed. Things happen. People are not keeping the typology from before. They're building completely new. People are not using traditional material, yet they're using alubon.
التطوير الاقتصادية وجعلها متعايشة مع المجتمع وزيادة حس المواطن بأهمية هذه المنطقة.
الحدود، تحديد الحدود حسب القوانين، يعني احنا مو كيفنا نجي هاي والله منطقة أثرية بها فد 400 بيت أثري نحط حدود وقلنا هاي الحدود مالتنا مالت المنطقة، مو هالشكل، أول شيء لازم نغطيها قانونيا.
Basra's rich cultural patrimony can offer hundreds of jobs for skilled as well as labor-intensive unskilled workers, diverse cultural activities linked to new businesses, ultimately contributing to the overall reduction of poverty to become a pillar of the future growth enhancing strategy for the entire region.